Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to focus on 6.5 PRC. We're going to talk about all of the great powders to use when hand loading for 6.5 PRC. The 6.5 PRC, there's a lot of powder options. Depending on the bullet weight, something like a faster burning N160 would be ideal with 127, 130 grain bullets. And then if you're going to go with the real heavies, say like a Hornady A-tip 153 or a Berger 156, Retumbo is actually a really good option. So we're going to talk about all of the great options, and hopefully this helps you. All right, let's just get this out of the way. If you have a short barrel, and what do I mean by that? 22-inch, heaven forbid a 20-inch barrel. Some of these slower burning powders like H1000, Retumbo, others like N565, they're too slow burning for a 22-inch barrel with 140-ish grain bullets, even 147, that ELDM. It's too slow. You're going to want something faster. And guys, here's my real hot take. You'll let me know in the comments just how wrong I am, but this powder is not the answer at all for 6.5 PRC. Let's first talk about some of the lighter bullets. These are particularly some of the hunting bullets that you might want a little more speed with. I'm specifically thinking of the Barnes 127 grain LRX or the 130 grain Swift Sirocco or 130 AccuBond. These are the powders you're going to want to use to get good accuracy, 100% burnt propellant, and decent amount of case fill. So H4350 and 160, IMR 4350, and yes, we're going to talk some Alliant powders today. Reloader 22, Reloader 19, and Reloader 23. We opened up Gordon's reloading tool. I picked 6.5 PRC, put in the barrel length. We are going to use 24-inch barrel. And then I put in the 127 grain Barnes LRX. And the powder of choice I'm using is N160. It's going to give you, what I want to show you is going to give you really good case fill and a decent amount of velocity, and obviously 100% burnt propellant. N160 is not going to be the speed demon, but it's going to shoot small, typically. At 65,000 PSI, we're maxing out around 3120 feet per second. It's pretty good. Okay, let's just look at a list of all of the great options for these lighter bullets for 6.5 PRC. I just showed you N160, really good case fill, and this is the top velocity you're going to get at 65,000 PSI, 3120. And then going on to triple nickel, N555. A little bit less case fill and around the same exact velocity. Here we go, talking Alliant powders, Reloader 22. It does have an asterisk next to it. I'll show you why in a second, but really good case fill, and it is moving, 3150. All right, I switched to Reloader 22 with this Barnes LRX bullet. Why it has an asterisk? Well, you're not going to get 100% burnt propellant at some of the lower charges where it might shoot a little bit better. So, I mean, you can already see at 58,000 PSI, you're only at 97.4% burnt propellant. And what we're looking for is 100%, nothing else. So what you're going to have to do is kind of stoke it up a bit to get that 100% burnt propellant. So you're probably going to have to be over 61,000, 62,000 PSI to get the most out of Reloader 22 with this lighter bullet. Reloader 23, 98% case fill, 3160. Okay, back to the other powders that work really well. I didn't put H4350. I have a question mark. Gordon's reloading tool is great, but sometimes it just doesn't have accurate information, and that is especially true with all the Hodgdon powders. Case fill, I think it's still going to be pretty good, but it also will get you 3130. IMR 4350, the boomer powder, 93% case fill, 3080, so a bit slower. N560, it has the exact same problem as Reloader 22. You're going to have to stoke it up quite a bit, get near 65,000 PSI to get 100% burnt propellant, but it is the speed demon for 127, 130 grain bullets, nearly 3,200 feet per second. Reloader 19, this is a really good option. All right, let's move up in bullet weight This is where I think the 6.5 PRC is in a sweet spot. It's 140, 143 class grain bullet. And it's a big reason why people jump up to the 6.5 PRC over the 6.5 Needmore. The 6.5 Creedmoor is pushing a 143 grain, like this one. 27, 2750, you have a longer barrel, 28, but the 6.5 PRC will push something like this 143 Bond Strike well over 3,000 feet per second with the correct powders. So you get 250, maybe 300 feet per second advantage depending on the barrel length. The top powders for 140 class grain bullet. N560, that one's really good. H4831 SC, this is the magic powder. And I understand you can't really get this one anymore, but if you have it, give it a try in 6.5 PRC. What I use Gordon's reloading tool most, it's not that, I'm going to get an exact accurate, weight grain to velocity. That's actually doesn't usually work. You can calibrate it though, so it is accurate, but it's usually not the best at guessing. 57 grains is going to get you 3,000 feet per second or whatever it's going to be. What it's best at is telling you what velocities you're going to get with the barrel length you have and what bullet and what powder. At 65,000 PSI, I know with N560, I shouldn't be going over 3,040 feet per second if I want to stay under 65,000 PSI. And the other, of course, really important thing, as I've mentioned before, is it will let me know if I got that 100% burnt propellant. All right, so what other powders? Other than N560, H4831SC, and IMR 7828 SSE, what other powders should you be using? We can go down to Reloader 22. It's a little faster burning. You still get good case fill, but you're going to be 40-ish feet per second slower. Reloader 23, decent case fill, a little bit slower. All right, let's get to the slower burning powders, probably some of the most popular powders people are using for their 6.5 PRC. Of course, that's H1000 and Retumbo. This will work as long as you have a 24-inch barrel and you're okay with being over 60,000 PSI to get that 100% burnt propellant. So all of these have an asterisk because you're not going to get 100% burnt propellant underneath 60 or so thousand PSI. But you do get really good case fill, and I know people get extremely good results with H1000 and Retumbo, as in accuracy. But just know, if you're not pushing it a little hard, it's going to be a lot slower than these other powders, and it might not be as consistent. But here are some of the velocities you can get when you're pushing it to 65,000 PSI. These are rough estimates. We'll talk about Gordon's reloading tool is not accurate at all with Retumbo or H1000, unfortunately. Now, one little nifty feature in Gordon's reloading tool that it grades itself on how accurate its predictions are with each powder. And all you need to do is just click on the search button and it will pull up the calibration. And just seeing right there, H1000 is really low. That's not good at all. So you're not going to get exactly great results when putting H1000 into GRT. So unfortunately, GRT is just really off. Retumbo is even worse. Retumbo is really bad at being accurate in Gordon's reloading tool. So you might be asking, where did I get these estimations on case fill and velocity? Well, I talked to one of my good friends who I consider a master ballistician, Tim from Little Crow Gunworks. He's really good at what he does. He kind of gave me a formula to figure out what the case fill is for H1000 and Retumbo and your estimated velocities. So I'd highly recommend you check his channel out. Let's talk heavier bullets in 6.5 PRC. We're going to use a very popular bullet, the Hornady 147 grain ELDM. A lot of people love this bullet. And I see a lot of videos on YouTube where people are shooting them really, really slow. So I just want to show you the real potential that you can get with this projectile and the right powders. So, for example, we've loaded up Invitivore N565, which is going to be a little faster as in velocity, a little slower burning than H1000 Retumbo. But again, this will be around the same ballpark with what velocities you'll get with H1000 Retumbo. And as you can see, it's pretty darn good with a 24-inch barrel. It's probably around 3,025 to 3,030 feet per second. Yeah, there's no reason for you guys to be shooting this 28 to 2,900 feet per second with the 147 ELDM. Just get the right powders and go to town and you'll get over 3,000. Appreciate you guys watching. Let me know in the comments what kind of results you've gotten with the powders you've tried in 6.5 PRC. And just a reminder, if you are shooting with a shorter barrel, 22-inch, and heaven forbid a 20-inch barrel, faster burning powders are your friends to help you get better accuracy and better velocity. You know, if you're running a 22-inch barrel, don't be using the slower burning powders. Be using this and this, or even faster, something like N160. Anyway, thanks so much for watching.